Today I was reading about this massacre that took place in a city in Sudan called El Janina. And this massacre took place last year. I actually did a video about this massacre last year when it was being reported on in real time. But recently, there was a UN report that came out stating that between 10,000 and 15,000 people were butchered in this city last year. And you can see images from the massacre. You can see the bodies. And I saw this video on Twitter. It was a video that was posted last year. And you can see just bodies. You can see carnage. And you see this woman dead on the floor, and her baby, her dead arm is still grasping this baby, and the baby is still alive. The baby is crying. I mean, it's just heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking. And the murderers were the RSF, the Rapid Support Forces. The Rapid Support Forces initially were a group called the Janjaweed. These were the killers for the regime of Omar al-Bashir, whose regime butchered around 2 million people. Not a whole lot of people talk about this, but this happened in our time. This happened recently. I mean, you can go back over a decade ago and read about this stuff. But the Janjaweed eventually just became the Rapid Support Forces. And they are a paramilitary organization. They're filthy rich, and they're extremely rich. They have a tremendous amount of gold at their disposal. And they were supposed to be a part of the official military of the Sudanese government. But the RSF did not want to integrate itself into the Sudanese military, the Sudanese armed forces. And there was a fight over power. And so a civil war broke out last year. And so you have the RSF and the Sudanese military fighting each other, killing each other, and you have massacres that have taken place. And the biggest massacre in this war is what happened in El Janina last year. El Janina is the capital of West Darfur. And it makes you wonder, they talk about Gaza. This is much worse than Gaza. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that we should just stop focusing on Gaza and we should just focus on Sudan, but it just surprises me that not a whole lot of people have been talking about what's been going on in Sudan. It's true. Not a whole lot of people talk about this stuff. They talk more about Ukraine. They talk more about Gaza. And I wonder, why do they talk more about Gaza and why do they talk more about Ukraine than what has been taking place in Sudan? And it's quite obvious. It's because it's Africa. That's it. That's the reason why. It's Africa. Nobody really cares about Africa. It's black people being killed, black people massacring each other. People don't care. It's racism. I mean, it's a sad reality. And I hate to say it. But it's the reality. When massacres happen in Africa, most people don't give a damn. If white people are killing each other, Caucasian people killing each other, there's much more attention on it. But when it comes to African people being butchered by the thousands in one massacre alone, not a whole lot of attention is given to it. I mean, you read about the El Janina massacre, between 10 to 15,000 people butchered. 10 to 15,000 people butchered. And that's just one massacre that has taken place in this war so far. That's just one massacre out of the numerous massacres that have taken place. And do you know why the RSF butchered these people? A lot of it has to do with race. A lot of it has to do with ethnicity. See, in Sudan, you have this tension between the Afro-Semites and the Africans who don't have Arab blood. So you have these Africans in Sudan who got a little bit of Arab blood in them. So maybe their facial features are a little bit sharper. Maybe their features are more symmetrical. They look kind of Arab. They look kind of Saudi. They got that look like they're from the UAE. but they also got African in them, so they look like Barack Obama, and so they think that there's something special. That's what's going on here. They think that there's something special. I am not African. I am not African. I am actually Arab. I am actually an Arab. And so there. But if you look at them, right? Listen, the average person looking at these Afro-Semites would just conclude that they're black. Because you look at a lot of these guys in Sudan, they look like you could just put them in Chicago and everybody would just say, "Oh, they're a bunch of black guys." But don't tell them that. Don't tell those people that. Don't tell those people that they're Africans. To them, they're Arabs. I am not African. I am not African. I am Arab. I am an Arab. And so they butcher the Africans who aren't Arab, or maybe they're not Arab enough. So they got 1 ounce of Arab blood, or they got a third of a cup of Arab blood running through their veins, and they think that there's something special. They think that they're God's gift to mankind. Because, you see, and this is what I think. I think it's because they hate the fact that they're black. I think they hate the fact that they're black, and so because they have a little bit of Arab blood in them, they're just clinging on to that Arab blood. They're clinging on to that 1/78th of Arab blood that they have. I'm 1/100th Arab, and they're just clinging on to that so they don't feel inferior. That's what it is. They're just clinging onto that. They grip onto that. They're like crabs in a bucket. They're just trying to grasp at it. I got this little bit of Arab blood in me. I'm so special. I'm related to the Prophet. Sallallahu I am related to the Prophet Muhammad. I'm something special. It's like those people in America who look 100% white. Right? They look white. They look 100% white, but then they'll say, "I'm actually native." Have you seen that before? I've seen this BS too many times in this country. And then you find out that they're like 1/200th Cherokee or something like that. Their great grandmother was a Cherokee Indian who got banged by a cowboy, and now they're native. They're indigenous. I'm not white. I'm actually 1/200th Cherokee. I'm Cherokee. I'm native. Oh, and I've seen this BS before. Well, as a native person, it's like, dude, you look like you come straight out of California. What are you talking about? You look like one of the Beach Boys, and you're talking about how you're native. Give me a break. I mean, really, it's so stupid. It's insanity. It truly is insanity. And in Sudan, this way of thinking translates to massacring people. I am Arab. You are a black guy, even though we both look black. So I'm going to kill you. And I'm going to read to you guys this excerpt. This is from Human Rights Watch. And I just want to read to you guys this one part that talks about the racist, let's just put it that way, the racist, tribalist character of this atrocity. So it says here, assailants used ethnic slurs against people fleeing, said they wanted them out of Sudan, or that they would kill Masalit people. So the people who were butchered, a lot of them were Masalit. And the Masalit, they are an ethnic group in Sudan, and they're looked down upon because they're not Arab or whatever. And so it says here, Shula, 35, who is from the Bargo tribe, said that in mid-June at one of the checkpoints on the road, two young men told her, "If you are Masalit, we would not let you leave. The Masalit will not come home. But you are okay because you are Bargo." Musa, the lawyer, said that on 2 occasions, Arab militias humiliated people from his group by forcing them to say, Dar Arab, Dar Arab. So Dar in Arabic means house, but in this context, Dar means land. So they're screaming at these people who they're butchering, this is the house of the Arab. And again, you look at these people who are in the RSF, they look like a bunch of black guys with guns. I'm not going to lie. I look at them. Listen, I see these guys walking around Houston. There's some African-American guys, some black guys. But in their brains, in their crazy heads, I am Arab. No, don't call me that. I am an Arab. and they're just clinging on to that so that they don't feel inferior, right? That's to them, that's their ticket to superiority. They want to be superior. They want to be Arab so badly. It's like these it's like these Mexicans who want to be Jewish. Oh, I've seen this so many times. Peruvians, Mexicans, Brazilians, just name your Latin American group, right? They all want to be Jewish. It's a huge thing in Latin American culture. Mexicans, yeah. Yo soy judeo, I'm Jewish, I'm Jewish, I'm Jewish. It's like, dude, no one cares. Oh my God, I just thought of something. So the Arabs are a Semitic people. Jews are a Semitic people. These African people in Sudan, they want to be Semitic. These Mexicans also want to be Semitic. A lot of people want to be Semites for some reason. Listen, coming from a Semite, okay, I'm a Semite. If you couldn't tell, it ain't nothing special. All right, it hasn't helped me one damn bit. It hasn't helped me one damn bit. Okay, it ain't nothing special. Ain't nothing but a thing. Okay. But you got these Hispanic people. I want to, yo soy judeo, as if it makes them special over the Hispanics who don't have one droplet of Jewish blood running through their veins because their great grandmother back in Toledo was a Catholicized Jew or something like that. But so it says here that they were screaming at these people who they were butchering, Dar Arab, which means this is the land of the Arab, or they used racist language such as Nubas, Allahu Akbar. And Nubas, I don't know what this means exactly, but apparently it is a racial pejorative. The area has been liberated from the Masalit. It is great. There is no Dar Masalit. There is no land of the Masalit. There is no Dar Andoka, land of the Masalit Sultan. Latifa, a student aged 25, said the people at the checkpoints on June 20th said to her and her group, "You are Nuba. You are Nawa. And Nuba, you don't have land here. You should leave. And from now on, you don't have land here." Hisham, who fled El Janina on June 24th, recalled people at checkpoints saying, "We have liberated this area. We have liberated this area. We don't want to see the owners of the land anymore. We are the owners of the land." I sounded kind of like a German there. Hisham, yeah, I went from crazy genocidal African to crazy genocidal Nazi all in one. Sorry, my brain kind of glitched there. Hisham said that the people at checkpoints would beat men with long hair, a style favored by Masalit fighters, saying, "These are the owners of the land. They will fight us one day." Okay, anyway. So you read about these atrocities, these racist atrocities, people being butchered because they don't have a drop of Arab blood in them or something like that. And the butcherers are people who think they're something special because they got some Arab blood, they're Afro-Semites. And then you read about the greater powers involved in this horror, involved in this nightmare. You have Saudi Arabia and you have the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. And the UAE has been supporting the RSF. Why? Why is that? Well, because the Saudis and the UAE Arabs, they're both the same people, right? They're both Arabs. They're both on the Arabian Peninsula. They're both a bunch of pimps. They're all scoundrels, right? The people who run these countries, they're scoundrels. They're gangsters. They're lunatics, okay? But they're in a rivalry. And they used to be friends. The UAE and Saudi Arabia, they used to be friends, but now they're rivals. And now they want to see who's going to dictate policy in the Gulf. Who's going to shape the region? Is it going to be the UAE, this little dwarf country, or is it going to be this massive country called Saudi Arabia where the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came from, Muhammad came from, or whatever? And Saudi Arabia is right next to Africa. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but Saudi Arabia is literally right across from Sudan. They got the Red Sea right in between them. They're right next to each other. They're neighbors. And so Saudi Arabia wants to make sure that it can have some kind of control over that area. So Saudi Arabia is backing the Sudanese government. The UAE, on the other hand, is backing the RSF. The UAE is interested in power, and it is also interested in gold because the RSF is filthy rich. They're very, very rich, and they have tons of gold. They got a lot of gold, and the UAE has been taking in that gold. And the UAE also got fighters from the RSF to come to Yemen to fight against the Houthis. So the RSF is fighting against Iran's proxy in the Arab Peninsula, and the RSF is being backed by the UAE in this whole war against the Houthis, and which is ultimately a war against Iran. And so the Arabs and the Emirate people, the Emirate Arabs, the Saudi Arabs and the Emirate Arabs, they have a struggle over who's going to have their guy in power in Sudan. Another thing that I found out is that Saudi Arabia was actually talking about putting an oil pipeline that would go right down through Oman, not too far away from where Oman and Yemen meet, so that Saudi Arabia could export its oil without having to go through the Strait of Hormuz. And if such an oil pipeline were ever put in operation, it would undermine the UAE, because the UAE is right on the Strait of Hormuz. And if such an oil pipeline were ever installed, Saudi Arabia would not have to go through the UAE, would not have to go past the UAE to transport its oil. It would just go right through Oman. And that would undermine the UAE. So this is another example of this power struggle, this power play between Saudi Arabia and the UAE. This would also allow Saudi Arabia to bypass Iran, because right across from the UAE on the Strait of Hormuz is Iran, which is right next to Turkey, the biggest enemy of Saudi Arabia and also the UAE. But this also has to do with another external power, which is much greater, much more powerful than Saudi Arabia and the UAE. You also have Turkey. And Turkey also wants to have influence in Africa, in that part of Africa, which is right near the Arab Peninsula. And remember, well, if you look at the guy who used to run Sudan, Omar al-Bashir, he was an ally of Turkey. He was very close to Erdogan. And this really terrified the Arabs, because Turkey is an enemy of the Arabs. Turkey is the most dangerous enemy for Saudi Arabia. So Turkey and Iran, these two countries are nightmare fuel for the Arabs, both in the Emirates and in Saudi Arabia. And the Arabs did not want a Turkish ally right across from them, right across the Red Sea from them. And so they were very happy to see Omar al-Bashir toppled. And now you have a new regime that's been running Sudan, a recent regime. It's ran by some guy named Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. And the Saudis are backing him. But you see, the Arabs and the UAE, let's just call them the Arabs. The Arabs, they want to make sure that they can have some kind of leverage, some kind of control and influence over that region, because they don't want Turkey to have influence and leverage and control in that region. Because if Turkey gets its hands on Sudan and on Somalia, that would mean a Turkish proxy right across from the Arabs, right near the Arab Peninsula. And that terrifies the Arabs. That terrifies the Arabs. And the Turks hate the Arabs for the most part because of what happened in World War I. The Ottoman Empire crashed in the Arab Peninsula because the Arabs sided with the British and they overthrew the Ottomans. They overthrew the Turks. And so the Turks, they want to revive their empire. They want to gain control over all the Middle East, and they want to have influence in that Afro-Semitic area of Africa where you have Sudan. And the Arabs don't want that. The Arabs don't want to see an expanding Turkey. So the Arabs are very interested in controlling and in having a position where they can shape the politics of Sudan. But in the midst of these power struggles, in the midst of this realpolitik, people are butchered. People are massacred. And it's absolutely horrific. It's absolutely horrific. Anyway, it's heartbreaking, guys. You guys just heard some theology. God bless.